Overgate Hospice has been at the heart of the community here in Calderdale for nearly 40 years now, and despite the pandemic, we continue to care for local people with a life-limiting illness. Covid-19 has had a massive impact on all of our lives, and we're trying to limit the impact that has on the care that we give to patients. We're still absolutely committed to improving the quality of people's lives, making them live life to the full, right to the very end. Care on our inpatient unit is holistic, which means we look at the whole person and we look at their needs and wishes and try to meet those. That might mean alleviating their pain or any other distressing problem that they have, to try and make sure that they maintain their dignity and independence. The care on our inpatient unit creates an environment that is safe, calm and comfortable. And it's those little things that make all the difference. There's an atmosphere of mutual respect, gentle good humour and warmth. Care is provided round the clock by a really dedicated team of doctors and nurses. We have 12 beds on our inpatient unit. 4 of those beds are in single rooms, but there are also 2 other rooms, and each of those rooms has 4 beds. You'll be glad to know that we've made sure that those beds are really well spaced apart from each other to keep you really safe, and our amazing housekeeping team is working harder than ever to really uphold those standards that we need at a time like this. All of the rooms have a really beautiful view into the garden, which itself has stunning views across Calderdale, and to top it all off, there is a jacuzzi bath which patients tell me is often the highlight of their day. We provide really lovely home-cooked meals because we know that a little bit of what you fancy does you good. Everybody who receives care in our inpatient unit can also access the really fantastic support from our patient and family support team, and that's made up of chaplaincy, counselling, physiotherapy and social work. And of course, all the care that anyone receives on our inpatient unit is provided absolutely free of cost to that person. You'll know that we've all been really restricted throughout this COVID pandemic in terms of who we can see and who we can't see. You probably know as well that in hospitals, visiting is extremely restricted. But from the very start, Overgate has been determined to make sure that people can have their loved ones visit them. We've had to be creative about how we do this, and you'll see that things are a little bit different if you do come into the hospice or visit. What we've had to do is make sure that all of the professionals who care for you are wearing what we call PPE, personal protective equipment. And instead of seeing smiles on our faces, we'll be wearing masks, and we hope that you'll see the tenderness and the smiles in our eyes instead. We'll also be wearing aprons and gloves, and probably a pair of goggles, on top of my glasses in my case. It also means that in allowing people to come to visit, we've had to be really careful and make sure there aren't too many people in the building at once. So I'm afraid we do have to restrict visiting to some extent, but by giving visitors masks, gloves and aprons, we're making sure that nobody has to be on their own throughout their stay in Overgate. And in addition to coming into the building, the government has now said that people can meet in up to groups of 6 outside. Well, what better way to see our beautiful gardens? And of course, as restrictions lift, we'll make sure that we do everything we can to lift our visiting restrictions as well, and we really look forward to seeing you here. I've heard some really interesting concerns over the last few weeks, and I just want to make sure that nobody's worrying about anything that's not quite true about coming into the hospice. The first thing to say is that as of this week, all of our inpatient services are back up and running, and that includes nurse-led care, respite. If we need to change that again, we will, but we're making absolutely sure that every service we can offer, we do. The other interesting myth that I've heard is that once you've been a patient in the hospice, once you go home again, that you have to self-isolate for 14 days, and that's not true either. What we are doing is, if somebody is well enough, when they come into the hospice, we first of all start them in a single room and take a swab of the nose and throat to make sure it's safe for them to be cared for in a shared room. And that's how we're making sure that it's safe. We know that we can't add days to life, but we can. can add life to the days that our patients have, making the absolute most of whatever time they have left.